So, if you, like me, are preparing for the revolution, might I suggest a book? The book is Power versus Force by Dr. David Hawkins. After I read this book in 2020, I realized why all of the great nonviolent protest movements in our past have been successful. A revolution is a marathon, not a sprint, and so you have to conserve your energy. This book is about how to use powerful patterns of behavior rather than forceful patterns of behavior. And the mistake that most revolutions make, because there is so much anger behind them, is that they exhaust themselves. And so, what this book essentially is about is how do I behave in ways that have a lot of power behind them that will be a good, effective use of my energy. The movements of fascism and despotism are always inherently flawed because they operate on the energy of hate. Hate is a negative attractor pattern. Love is a positive one. When you feel love in your body, it actually makes you feel energized. When you feel hate in your body, it makes you sick. It makes you feel bad. The people who are in political power have the power of the structure, but they will always be operating in force to try to make us to do things that they want us to do. And that's an exhausting way to try to operate. And so the energy of this revolution is going to be us systematically planning and quietly doing things and waiting for the powers that be to exhaust themselves, to run out of energy, to run out of resources to continue to force. And I know we feel like we are up against an insurmountable opponent, but we have good historical evidence that this way of doing revolution works. And it works especially well in the technological revolution where we can organize all sitting in our homes. So I will read to you a little excerpt here. Here are some of the positive and negative attractor patterns. Power patterns in human attitudes. The ability to differentiate between high and low energy patterns is a matter of perception and discrimination that most of us learn by painful trial and error. Failure, suffering, and eventual sickness result from the influence of weak patterns. In contrast, success, happiness, and health proceed from powerful attractor patterns. Therefore, it is well worth taking a few minutes to scan the list of contrasting patterns below. Accepting rather than rejecting. Appreciative rather than envious. Aware rather than preoccupied. Confident rather than arrogant. Courageous rather than reckless. Energetic rather than agitated. Flexible rather than rigid. Dr. David Hawkins, who wrote this book, I believe is enlightened. He is one of the few spiritual teachers that I've come across that seemed truly spiritually enlightened. He also was a pseudoscientist, so I want you to be prepared when you read his books that there is a lot about muscle testing and kinesiology. He also helped found a lot of the research that the spiritual bypassing people love because he introduced a scale of basically what are the high vibe emotions and what are the low vibe emotions. And the human brain and human ego took a hold of that and said, I'm never going to be angry or shameful anymore. And that is not the way that this is supposed to work. So I want you to be prepared that that is also in this book. And we have to read with discerning eyes. But this book is amazing. It is a foundational way for the way that I behave. And I will be looking over this list constantly to make sure that I am using my energy effectively for this revolution.